What is going on, you guys? MissedThePart here, back again. So we are getting into part 2 of the Spider-Man 2 comic adaptation, and where we left off, had Spider-Man pretty much, he was looking at a car chase that was about to happen, and then he was pretty much going to stop the car chase, and that's where we are in the storyline. So anyways, guys, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn your notifications on so you guys are all up to date with the content. But anyways, let's get right into the video. And he takes out the criminals, and then then we see Peter actually sees MJ and then John Jameson, and they're both together. So he's just like, I can't believe this. He's just like who the heck's this? And that's where we have Peter. He goes back and he talks to MJ, but MJ doesn't pick up the phone. As always, she never really picks up the phone, and she's just getting mad at him for even phoning him. And that's where we have, Peter's just talking about, how, he could tell, he wants to tell her the truth about stuff. Because, we do have, Spider-Man, we do have Peter Parker wanting to tell MJ about Spider-Man, but, he can't because, he'll keep everybody vulnerable. And if people know, then, it's going to be really bad. So that's why, he doesn't really do that. And it dives more deep into it, why he didn't. And that's where we cut to one of my favorite parts in the comic book, and that's where Otto Octavius, he's finally talking about the Nero chips and stuff, like the inhibitor chip, and how the arms can be controlled. And there was a group of people there, but in the comic you can actually see that there's not a lot of people. There might have been 20 people, and half of those people could have been investors. And, Peter was just really there because he wanted to see the experiment because he was doing the papers. So that's why, Peter's there with all those business people. And, that's why he's there with Harry Osborn. So, we have Ock pretty much just, talk about how, the arms are really good at, speed, and, they respond according to, what he wants. And that's where he turns on the actual machine where, it actually is crazy because, he moves, but it's a conductor. And his arms are a metal blur, and then the mini sun just starts, it goes bigger and bigger and bigger, and he can't control it after. And that's where we have the thing actually starts to blow up, and Harry's screaming turn it off, Otto. And that's where we have Peter, he rips his thing off, he goes as Spider-Man, and this is where he actually saves Harry. And Harry just literally, he could have been blasted in 2 seconds, but he gets saved. And that's where we actually have a really horrible scene where the sun or whatever goes into the chip. It goes right in the chip, it breaks it, and then it goes into his gut, killing him. And then it goes into his wife's gut, and she dies instantly, she's dead. So Spider-Man, he takes out the wires for the machine, we've seen before. And he's like, oh god, he better get out of here before something happens. And that's where he sees everybody pretty much burned alive almost. And that's where we have Peter just saying okay, this isn't that bad. And that's where Harry Osborn just says I'm ruined, Peter, my father's company's ruined, because he pretty much killed somebody during this experiment. And that's why you can see how Harry would actually say that. And people died today, it's just crazy. And then we have Harry just yeah, where were you? So Harry, he's turning into kind of like Norman Osborn. He's turning into a businessman where he doesn't really care if people are getting killed. And we have Peter kind of blame himself because he's Spider-Man's getting into the way of things, and poor Doc Ock, Otto Octavius, because it wasn't really his fault. But still, even if he survives, it's crazy. So they start chopping off arms until the arms start to move, and the arms would actually go, and it's just it hits the guy in the face, just like the movie. And the cool thing about this is Otto isn't even awake. He's slowly waking up, and he's what's going on? He hears screaming, and then all you see is people are dead, and Otto's just he's better. And then he's no, I can't believe this, no. And this is where you finally see Ock turn into Doc Ock, where, you know, the arms are saying yes and he's finally being controlled. It gets on the newspaper, you know, we have J. Jonah pretty much just talking about, like, how he's a murdering monster, and, like, he's a machine, like, weirdo, like, he's pretty much killing people. And he's like, what are we going to call this person? And that's where, you know, we get the Doctor Strange gets brought up. And I really love the fact that Peter's just kind of standing there and he's not really saying anything. And he gets invited to actually go to John Jameson's wedding. And, you know that Peter really doesn't want to go, but he goes anyways. And then it cuts back to Peter at the bank with Aunt May. And, you know, they're just talking about the necessary assets that they don't have. And then all of a sudden you hear something, like you hear bank officers' voices. And that's where you know, an explosion goes off, and Peter actually saves Aunt May. Like, he pretty much takes her, they jump out of the way, and then she's like, where did you go? And then he turns into Spider-Man, and, you know, he starts fighting Doc Ock. And this is just some really cool choreographed scenes in this comic book. You know, the artwork's just really well done, and I really like the lighting that they put, because, you know, we have both of them fighting. And, you know, what's really cool about this is Spider-Man takes a desk and throws it right at him. Like, he literally just uses one web to throw it at him. You know what I don't really get either is, like, there's thugs in this comic book, so, like, I don't know if Doc Ock ever actually had thugs with them stealing the money, but, like, eventually, you know, we would have that whole fight scene at the bank where, you know, Spider-Man's fighting Doc Ock, and then, you know, we have Doc Ock take Aunt May, and, you know, he's taking hostages now. And Spider-Man just can't believe it, because he's just like, he doesn't want to lose Aunt May as he lost Uncle Ben. So, you know, he's really trying to, you know, avoid anything that's bad. And then Aunt May just hits him right in the face. And, you know, she starts to fall. And, you know, Spider-Man actually saves her. And, you know, they're pretty much just talking, you know, like how, like, they both showed him. And, you know, we have Ock. Ock escapes. And then he goes back to his lair where, you know, he sees some homeless people. And that's going to wrap part 2 for the Spider-Man 2 adaptation comic book. Stay tuned for part 3. And we just wrapped up Spider-Man fighting Doc Ock at the bank, and he's just saved Aunt May. So, you know, we're getting into a really good part in the comic book, and it goes in more depth with all this. And that's what I really like about the Spider-Man 2 adaptation comic, is that you see more that you didn't see in the movie. And, you know, I find that you even see more than the Spider-Man 2.1 version of the film. So, you know, I'm really liking this comic book. Tell me what you guys think, and make sure you guys stay tuned for part 3. But anyways, as always, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn your notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But anyways, as always, peace out.